She never imagined her quiet life could fracture in a single weekend, but sometimes the heart wakes up when you least expect it, and when it does, nothing feels the same again. Her name was Evelyn. She was 46 years old with a tidy home on the edge of a small town where everyone knew everyone's business. For decades, she had played her role perfectly: a wife, a mother, a dependable friend. Her life was measured in grocery lists, folded laundry, and the sound of her children's footsteps racing up and down the hallway. Now the children were grown. Her husband spent more time traveling than speaking, and Evelyn had learned how to quiet the restless part of herself, the part that wanted to feel seen, wanted to feel alive. She thought that part of her was gone forever. Until one May afternoon, when her phone buzzed with a message from her oldest friend, Marissa. The words were simple. "Eve, could Ryan stay with you this weekend? Mom's unwell and I need to be at the hospital." It would mean a lot. Ryan, Marissa's son, 19, maybe 20 now. The boy Evelyn remembered hiding behind Marissa's leg when they were little. The boy who used to play with toy trucks in her living room, except he wasn't a boy anymore. Evelyn hesitated for only a moment before replying. "Of course. I'll take care of him." It felt like such a small favor to return, after years of friendship. But she couldn't have known what it would awaken inside her. That evening, Ryan arrived, a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. His smile, uncertain but warm. And in that instant, Evelyn saw how much he had changed. He was taller now, his frame broad, his voice carrying a quiet depth. "Thanks for letting me stay, Mrs. Hale," he said politely. Evelyn laughed softly. "Please, Ryan, it's just Evelyn. You're not a child anymore." He smiled again, but this time it lingered, almost as if the word Evelyn carried something new. They settled into an easy rhythm that first night. She made pasta. He talked about his classes, his half-formed plans for the future, his love for hiking and painting. She listened, surprised by how grounded he seemed. Later, he chose a film for them to watch, a science fiction thriller. Evelyn barely followed the plot. Her eyes kept drifting toward him, watching how the screen's glow reflected in his expression, how his laugh sounded deeper than she remembered. When the film ended, Ryan stepped outside to the back porch. Evelyn followed a moment later, finding him staring into the night sky. Fireflies dotted the meadow and the air smelled faintly of lilac. "You okay?" she asked gently. He nodded. "Sometimes," he said softly, "I wish I could pause time, just freeze a moment like this." The words struck her unexpectedly. Something about them felt too honest, too vulnerable. She looked at him, silhouetted, in the moonlight, and felt a flicker of something she hadn't felt in years. Not desire. Not yet. Just recognition, like two souls brushing past each other in the dark. The next morning, Evelyn woke early. The house felt alive in a different way, knowing someone was there. She made blueberry pancakes. Ryan wandered in, hair tousled, offering to help, set the table. Their movements felt strangely natural, as though he belonged in her kitchen. Later that day, they decided to tackle the attic together, sorting through boxes Evelyn had ignored for years. The summer heat made the work exhausting. They played old records to pass the time. When Ryan started singing along to a Joni Mitchell track, his voice unexpectedly rich, Evelyn felt her chest tighten. "Where did you learn that?" she teased. He grinned. "Mom told me you used to make mixtapes in college. She still has some." The memory made Evelyn laugh, but beneath her smile was something else, a warmth that unsettled her. By afternoon, they were tired and sweaty. "Want to swim?" Ryan asked suddenly. The creek behind the house had been untouched for years. Evelyn hesitated. It felt reckless, but recklessness had a strange appeal. She agreed. In her old swimsuit, she felt self-conscious at first, but Ryan was already floating. On his back in the water, sunlight dappling across his skin. "Jump in," he called, eyes closed. So she did. The water was cold, shocking, but freeing. They splashed and laughed, their conversations drifting easily. His favorite hikes, her failed lavender patch, the way dragonflies hovered above the ripples. And then Ryan said quietly, "You don't laugh much." The words cut through her. "I laugh," she replied defensively. "Not like you mean it," he said softly. "But when you do, it feels like the whole world lights up." Evelyn froze, the water swirling around her. His words were simple, but they pierced something deep inside, because he was right. She hadn't really laughed, not freely, not deeply, in years. That night, she couldn't sleep. She lay awake, hearing the storm gather outside, her thoughts tangled, replaying Ryan's smile, his voice, his eyes. She tried to dismiss it. He was too young, her friend's son. This wasn't supposed to happen. But feelings don't ask permission. By morning, the storm had broken. Rain drummed against the windows, thunder rolling far away. They sat together in the living room, flipping through old photo albums. Candles flickered in case. The power went out. "That's my youngest," Evelyn said, pointing to a picture of her daughter as a child. Ryan studied the photo, then looked at Evelyn. "She has your smile," he said, and then, quietly, "You're stronger than you think." The air shifted. The space between them felt suddenly fragile. Evelyn's throat tightened. "You remind me of who I used to be," she admitted. Ryan's gaze held hers. "Is that good?" he asked gently. "It's terrifying," she whispered. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then his hand brushed against hers. Not forceful, not demanding, just steady. And Evelyn didn't pull away. That evening after dinner, they washed dishes side by side. Every movement felt loaded with unspoken meaning. When Ryan finally turned to her, his voice was low. "Thank you." "For what?" she asked, her pulse racing. "For seeing me," he said simply. The words cracked something open in her. Without thinking, she reached up and touched his cheek. Just for a moment, his skin warm beneath her fingertips. Then she pulled back, trembling. It wasn't about romance. It wasn't about age. It was about connection, a reminder that she was still alive. That night, Evelyn sat in the darkened living room long after midnight. She couldn't quiet her thoughts. At 2 a.m, Ryan appeared in the doorway. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked softly. She shook her head. He sat beside her on the couch, careful to keep a respectful distance. "I'm leaving tomorrow," he said, his voice heavy. "I know," she replied quietly. He turned toward her. "I don't want to pretend this weekend didn't happen." Her chest tightened. "Ryan, we didn't do anything." His eyes searched hers. "We did. Maybe not with words, but we did." She couldn't deny it. She felt it too. The spark, the shift, the awakening. "I don't want promises," he said gently. "I just don't want to feel like I imagined this." "You didn't," she whispered. Her voice broke, and then slowly she let her head rest on his shoulder. They sat in silence, the candle flickering, shadows dancing on the walls. It wasn't wrong. It wasn't right. It simply was. The next morning, the storm had passed. The sky was piercing blue, the air crisp with possibility. When Marissa's car pulled into the driveway, Evelyn's heart clenched. Ryan hugged her tightly, his arms strong around her. "Thank you," he murmured against her hair. "For what?" she asked, her throat aching. "For seeing me," he said again, his eyes holding hers one last time. And then he was gone. Evelyn sat on the porch with her tea, the sun warming her face. The lavender swayed gently in the breeze. Her world looked the same, but inside, everything had changed. Because sometimes life doesn't wake you with a thunderclap. Sometimes it wakes you with a whisper. And sometimes the person who reminds you that you're still alive is the one you never expected.